Yeah, and also 7 battleships to the Caribbean, Mike. So there's no question that the Trump administration is seeking to project force in the Western Hemisphere. Clearly, they have the intelligence to find and fix these targets and the capability now to finish them. We're looking at targeting the cartels as well as their state sponsors like Venezuela. Allies are critical, so you saw Secretary of State Rubio in Ecuador working with them to enhance their counter-narcotics program. This is clearly a priority for the Trump administration.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth making this argument. Let's play him.
Every boatload of any form of drug that poisons the American people is an imminent threat. And at the DOD, our job is to defeat imminent threats. A foreign terrorist organization poisoning your people with drugs coming from a drug cartel is no different than Al-Qaeda. And they'll be treated as such.
Do you expect President Trump to step up military action against Nicolas Maduro's regime and narco-terror groups in the region?
Well, I absolutely expect us to target the narco-terrorist groups, and it remains to be seen whether there might be attacks directly on Venezuela. I don't see any indication that that's in the offing. What I would highlight is that the National Defense Strategy is sitting on Secretary Hegseth's desk as the United States looks to outline our key national security priorities, among them obviously dealing with China, North Korea, Iran, and Russia. China is very active in our hemisphere. They're closely allied with Cuba and Venezuela. And so all of these threats are very much intertwined. I actually think it's a good time for the president to be thinking about an address to the nation about how these counter-narcotics operations fits into his overall vision for our national security strategy.
Okay, to Ukraine, and Vladimir Putin sounds agitated about the possibility of Western military personnel being sent to Ukraine. What about that?
Well, Vladimir Putin wants to ensure that Ukraine doesn't have the capability to deter any future Russian attacks in the event that we ever get to a ceasefire, and Putin has shown no indication that he's willing to do that, of course. And of course, Putin wants Ukraine never to join NATO. He wants to limit the number of Ukrainian troops in their military, all maximalist demands, again, designed to ensure that Russia, in the event that the front line is frozen at some point, that Russia could mount an attack in the future. But meanwhile, Russia continues to rain down hell on Ukrainian infrastructure and their innocent civilians, killing young children and kidnapping others.
I want to play President Trump on security guarantees for Ukraine, and I'll get you to react.
We'll help them. Look, we want to save a lot of lives, so we'll do something with that. I think people expect that we'll help them. Europe will be first in by far, and they want to be first.
What more are the U.S. and Europe doing to help Zelensky in Ukraine?
Well, we need to do more, and we could talk about security guarantees, but that's part of the post-war reconstruction plan, which is going to cost reportedly in the hundreds of billions of dollars to deal with all the destruction that Russia has caused. But we've got to get to that post-war reconstruction phase, and that means stopping the war, deterring Russia, and at the moment we're not doing that. And so I think the president needs to continue to be working with Europe to do it. Germany needs to give Ukraine the long-range Taurus missiles. Maybe Denmark should close their straits to the Russian shadow fleet to make it harder for the Russians to export their hydrocarbons to China and India and keep their wartime economy afloat. We've got the Russian central bank assets, billions of dollars that we're holding. We're using the interest on those central bank assets. Maybe we should use the principal as well. And then all the while, let's give Ukraine more military equipment, and certainly they could pay for it with Europe's help. But we need to give them the capability to fight back and make it clear that this war is a loser. That's how you divide this century's axis of tyranny. If you want to break up Russia's alliance with China, Iran, and North Korea, make this war even more of a loser for Putin than it already is.
All right, I want to pick up on a point you just made. This week featured several of America's adversaries meeting together, with President Xi hosting Russian President Vladimir Putin and also Kim Jong-un of North Korea. What's your assessment of that situation?
Well, it harkens back to Soviet military parades with goose-stepping Chinese soldiers on their way to Tiananmen Square to create the optic that they're a strong, powerful military. Of course, they haven't fought since losing to Vietnam decades ago. That was the goal of Xi Jinping, and it's, again, a dance of dictators with China and North Korea and Russia projecting an alliance, when in fact China is encroaching on Russia's sphere of influence in Central Asia, and there are deep issues between those countries, between Russia and China, that potentially we could exploit down the road. They're long-term strategic competitors, but they know that the one thing they have in common right now is that democracy is what scares them the most, and they want to do everything they can to take the United States down a notch and exploit weaker countries, potentially to invade Taiwan and exploit countries commercially. So this is, I think, this century's greatest challenge for the United States. President Trump can be the arsenal for democracy and lead the West, as President Reagan did, as a bulwark against these dictatorships.
Dan Hoffman, grateful for your time and your analysis today. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Hey, it's Will Cain. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Cain podcast for full episodes right now.